Thanks, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Environment Minister, Senator Birmingham. Over the weekend, we learned that another mega coal mine in the Galilee Basin, located just above Adani's China
Senator
Stone
Waters,
mine.
please stop. On my right, I've insisted on silence during questions. That applies around the entire chamber. Senator Waters, please continue.
Thanks, President. The China Stone mine is now moving ahead. The Adani mine would suck 12.5 billion litres of water from the Sutter River and up to 6 gigalitres of groundwater in a region already crippled by drought. The China Stone mine is expected to need about as much water, so if both mines were to proceed, it would double the take of surface and groundwater. If both mines proceeded, they would use twice as much as all other users of the Sutter River combined. This region is crippled by drought. 58% of Queensland is crippled by drought. Will the minister finally stand up for our environment and our precious water and reject this new water-hungry mega thermal coal mine?
Before I call the minister to answer the question, statements of fact are allowed as long as they are strictly relevant to the question. I encourage senators to remember that when they're phrasing their questions. I call the minister. Senator Birmingham, representing the Minister for the Environment.
Well, thanks, Mr. President. I thank Senator Waters for her question, although I do not necessarily accept on face value a number of the claims and assertions that were made by Senator Waters during that question. I do, however, acknowledge Senator Waters indicated, of course, that parts of Queensland, parts of New South Wales, parts of Australia are doing it tough from drought conditions at present. Parts of Australia are doing it tough in terms of not experiencing or getting the benefits of the economic growth that Australia overall is enjoying. That, of course, is one of the reasons why the coalition government firmly welcomes proposals that create investment and jobs and opportunities in regional Australia. We want to see regional Australia get the benefits of investments across a whole range of different industries. Now, in relation to the China Stone coal mine project that my colleague Senator Canavan was, of course, just discussing, it is correct that a proposal for this mine, adjacent to another proposal in the Carmichael coal mine, has been put forward. The mine is undergoing a comprehensive assessment for its impacts on listed threatened species and water resources, which I know were a feature of Senator Waters' question, as is required by the EPBC Act. The Queensland Coordinator-General released their evaluation report on the environmental impact statement on the 22nd of November 2018. The Coordinator-General's report will also be used as an approval decision under the EPBC Act under the standard accredited assessment processes. The Department of Environment and Energy is now reviewing the evaluation report to prepare a recommendation on whether or not approval for the proposal should also be granted under the EPBC Act. This decision is due in January 29 and will, of course, receive all of the usual thorough expert advice to inform its decision-making. Our government makes sure that we apply strict and robust environmental conditions, but we also work to ensure that projects can be facilitated wherever possible to ensure that communities get the job and investment opportunities
Senator
they deserve.
Birmingham. Senator Waters, a supplementary question.
Thanks, President. If it were approved, the China Stone mine would export 38 million tonnes of coal annually. So over the life of the mine, that one mine would produce the same as 10 years of Australia's domestic emissions. It is a climate bomb. Has the minister read the IPCC report, which warns us about the catastrophic economic, social and environmental impacts of climate change, or is this government utterly blinded by the $2.5 million in donations from the resources
Senator Waters,
sector
time
since
for
2013?
asking the question has expired. Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, Mr. President. The only ones blinded in this place are, of course, the Greens sitting in that corner over there, who would shut down all resources projects, all mining projects, who would stand against all investment wherever they could. And the real threat to Australia is, of course, that should there be a future Labor government, again beholden to the Greens, we know full well that when push comes to shove, a future Labor government would bow to those wishes of the Greens, would block investment projects, would block the type of projects that can create jobs and prosperity for regional Australia. Now, when it comes to emissions, when it comes to global emissions, our government makes commitments on behalf of Australia and delivers upon them. We have made commitments to work and to ensure that in relation to Australia's 2020 emissions targets, we not only meet them, but we will exceed them. We will exceed them by a projected 300 million tonnes. We'll do that while still having seen increased investment across the nation. In terms of that investment, we want to see jobs. We're unashamed about supporting jobs. We'll keep supporting jobs.
Senator Waters, a final supplementary question.
Thanks, President. My final question is whether Mac Mines has sought funding from the Northern Australia Infrastructure Facility for their China Stone Mine, and will this government rule out NAIF funding or any other public funding for this mine's infrastructure?
To the extent Minister representing the Minister for the Environment is able to answer, I'll call on him to respond to the question.
Well, Mr President, because I like to be helpful to the extent that I possibly can, I'll take those questions on notice and see whether we can provide or furnish the senator with information in that regard. Not to my knowledge. It's not in my portfolio, nor the portfolio that I represent, but not to my knowledge is the answer there, Senator Waters. But of course, what we see in relation to these projects is millions of dollars being invested by the private sector in developing employment and investment opportunities in regional areas of Australia. And that's to be welcomed. As a government, we're proud of the fact that our work as a government to create the economic climate for more investment in regional Australia is creating more job opportunities for more people across regional Australia. That's why we see unemployment so low. That's why we've seen well over 1 million jobs created, because we've created the environment for investment across Australia, and we're going to keep doing that to make sure that we keep creating more job opportunities for more Australians.
Senator Cormann.